What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're going to jump in with a bunch of Destiny 2 and Forsaken stuff to talk about. So as a very brief overview, we're going to talk about Prime Engrams. Turns out there is almost an exact science to how they drop. The game mode Breakthrough has been removed from PvP for the moment. I'll talk about why in just a second. I wanted to speak about upcoming vendors in the game and some exotic items related to them, as well as some other rare collectibles in the game right now. We're going to talk about upcoming content, possible reveals, and returning characters in the game soon. So if you guys enjoyed the video, a rating below is very much appreciated. But now, let's get into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about would be Prime Engrams. Of course, one of the best sources for powerful gear inside of Forsaken. There have been a few different methods that folks have used to farm Prime Engrams, but Rustophilus and the Unknowing on Reddit have actually spent a bunch of time researching them, and it turns out they have a pretty predictable drop rate. So what both of these guys did is actually farmed a bunch of strikes and kills, and they found that a Prime Engram is likely to drop between every 1800 and 2000 kills, and that's outside of the Prime Attunement buff. And they repeated this many times over and over. Rustophilus actually ran strikes with another player. They were getting roughly the same amount of kills, and then were having Prime Engrams actually drop within a couple of moments of each other every single time. They also found that every 100 kills drops a blue engram, every 300 kills will drop a legendary, and then approximately 1800 to 2000 kills for a Prime Engram. And according to the Unknowing on Reddit, the drops will actually happen in a specific order. So you'll get 3 blues drop, then 1 legendary drop, and Prime Engrams will drop after around about 16 blue engrams or 6 legendaries. But in terms of the kills, yellow bar bosses count for about 20 normal kills. So farming them can actually make this quite a bit faster. And they say approximately every 6th boss kill will be a blue, approximately every 18th will be a legendary, and every 100th will be a prime. And like I said, this is outside of the Prime Attunement buff. This seems to happen always, so every 1800, 2000 kills roughly. That is when Prime Engrams actually drop. And this post on Reddit got a whole bunch of traction. A lot of folks are concurring with what they found here. So there we go, it seems to have been cracked. Whenever you have the Prime Attunement buff, you can get Prime Engrams dropped randomly at any time, but outside of that, always you're going to see Prime Engrams drop every 1800 to 2000 kills in the game. And that does mean that Prime Engrams are actually farmable, but as Bungie mentioned before, it could affect future drop rates. Now, because we're going to get them every 1800 kills regardless, that won't actually affect that drop rate, but it could be affecting the random drop rate when you have the Prime Attunement buff. So basically, you could be using up your opportunities on the 1800 kills, meaning that you're less likely to get that random one dropped after, a random boss kill with the buff active. So pretty interesting stuff. I'll link the Reddit post below, as well as Rustophilus's video about it. It seems that they've pretty much got this one figured out. Next though, a quick shout from DMG. Breakthrough has temporarily been removed from the competitive Crucible rotation. As we investigate issues impacting Breakthrough, we have temporarily removed the game type from rotation in the competitive playlist. They do say stay tuned for updates. I believe there were some exploits that folks were using. Not entirely sure what they are, but I have heard of a bunch of different issues. Also some kind of kill farming problem when objectives are locked down at a certain point in the game. So it seems that Bungie want to resolve some of these issues and rework that mode a little bit. And they are also asking for feedback from any folks who have been playing it, so do bear that in mind. Recently I spoke about some foundry specific vendors, and these are various frames related to specific foundries that can actually sell their weapons. So we have Hector 9940. The reason I'm bringing this up again is that the flavor text on the Hecuba S Sparrow, of course a Hake Sparrow, actually comes from Hector 9940. So function over flare, but a little flare never hurt anybody, Hector 9940. And this is worth pointing out because it adds weight to the concept that these vendors are actually going to come into the game at some point. They are in the database and they do have an inventory in the database, but we don't see them in the game. And of course, it seems pretty likely that they could be a feature of the Black Armory DLC, or even more likely, part of an upcoming Arms Week event, something which was leaked a little while ago. But yeah, we do have some flavor text from one of these vendors actually on another piece of gear in the game. So of course, this makes it even more likely that these vendors are indeed going to be used for something in the near future. Of course, in the near future though, we are going to get Festival of the Lost, and that's launching next week on October 16th. Bungie have said we can expect a reveal this week, so it's certainly going to be interesting. There have been some leaks about it. We're also speculating as to who the featured characters will be for this. We saw the guy who looks kind of like Master Ives, but also it seems pretty likely that we could hear about Eva Levante now that Festival of the Lost has actually returned. Of course, she hasn't been present inside of Destiny 2. There is a lore scannable inside of the tower which actually confirmed that she did survive the Red War, so she didn't die when the tower was destroyed initially or anything like that. But of course, things could have happened since then. We know that there will be a quest to solve a murder, but at the very least, it seems likely that we'll hear about Eva Levante, maybe get some lore, if not actually see her in the game, or at least learn of her fate, because Eva Levante actually was the kind of leader of the Festival of the Lost event in Destiny 1. And so I'm pretty hopeful that we'll learn what's going on with her. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. A couple of random items from the database right here. There is this emblem featuring one of the cats. Of course, there are a bunch of cat statues around the Dreaming City. I don't believe anybody currently owns this. That's why I thought it was interesting to point out in this video. It could be, you know, for completing all Ascendant challenges. I don't believe it's for giving a gift to each of the cats, because I think quite a few folks have done that. Could maybe be related to the raid, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll be curious to hear your opinion on it. There is the Eternal Return emblem though, and this drops from Dul and Karud inside of the Shattered Throne dungeon. But to get this one dropped, you actually have to solo the dungeon. So it's going to be a relatively rare emblem right here, and it does track the number of times that you've conquered Dul and Karud in the Dreaming City. So with that one returning next week, just a quick heads up if anyone wants to try and obtain it. I spoke recently about a pretty cool interview coming from Games Radar. It's definitely one worth checking out, especially if you're into raiding and things like that. Tim Clark from Games Radar actually spoke to a bunch of employees of Bungie. It's a pretty juicy one because Tim Clark actually plays quite a lot of Destiny. He knows the game very well. So it's not like some, you know, random journalist who doesn't really know about Destiny asking questions. And that means, of course, we get some juicy stuff. And one thing to mention is that he did get Steve Cotton to essentially tease that there could be future dungeons coming up in new content. Steve Cotton did refer to the idea of these dungeons, which of course is plural, so it sounds like there could be more coming in the future. But on top of this, Tim Clark asked about cheeses and exploits in the Last Wish raid, and what the raid designers would consider a cheese. So he says number one is using the Ikelos shotgun to kill Morgoth the Spirekeeper by shooting him in the back of the leg, considered a cheese. And Joe Blackburn said, I would say that that is not a cheese or an exploit. I would say that you've invested time in Destiny and now you get to feel a type of powerful. It sort of hits on that idea of the first time we did it, it took 20 hours, but now it takes 20 minutes. So yeah, on that one, good on you. Then he says, how about equipping a 100k Nightfall emblem so you can take no damage on the plates at Shuro-Chi? And Joe Blackburn says, this one is a bug, it's being fixed. There are players that have used that bug in a different way, and we just want to get it fixed. So clearly, Bungie definitely don't like that one. But on the subject of killing Riven in the first stun room using cluster bomb rockets and a bunch of buffs, Joe said, that's the one that we're probably looking at right now. We're evaluating the community's response to it, and we're still looking and learning to figure out what the right thing for that encounter is. So we didn't necessarily say whether he considers that a cheese or not, but they are certainly considering how they might approach this and change it. So a couple of insights right there. Once again though, I'll link that interview down below. According to Act2Gaming.net, Activision are going to be present at Paris Games Week this year, so that begins on Friday 26th of October and runs up to Tuesday the 30th, and Destiny 2 Forsaken as well as Call of Duty will be present at the event. So it could be an interesting time to look out for hints about new content, maybe new interviews and stuff like that, especially with it getting closer to the Black Armory DLC, but I will keep you guys posted on that front. A quick reminder about my previous video, there are a whole bunch of pretty interesting weapon perks coming to some weapons in the future, things like Onslaught, which allows the weapon's rate of fire to increase as you stack Rampage. That certainly sounds pretty crazy. You've also got Fistfuls of Bullets, melee kills overload the magazine to double its capacity, as well as Reservoir Burst. When the battery is full, your next burst deals additional damage. So there's a lot of speculation. Could this be for some kind of new unusual fusion rifle? Could it be for a railgun or something that's coming into the game? I've also heard speculation that it could be for Pocket Infinity. Certainly pretty interesting stuff, but if you want to check out a bunch of other bonuses, another one called High Noon, sassy Western reference right there, and probably an Overwatch Easter egg considering how many there are in D2. I will link a video down below breaking all of those down. But now to round up a bunch of stuff from Bungie, some known issues and bugs and things that they're working on. There's been a lot of conversation about low-level exotic drops actually coming from strikes, even when players use Vanguard boons and stuff like that. And this is happening even in the 500 strike playlist. People are getting 380 exotics. DMG confirmed this happens when players use a Vanguard boon. It's a known issue, and the team is looking into it. On top of this, you only get year 1 exotics as well, so if this actually gets changed, this could be a pretty important way to get exotics once this bug is fixed. I personally have had a new exotic from Forsaken when completing a strike, so it definitely can happen, but it appears that the bug right now is associated with the Vanguard boon, essentially making them useless to actually farm new exotic stuff. But once this changes, things could definitely be different, so worth bearing in mind. Some folks have had issues with Gambit clan engrams that you can unlock and them actually being bugged. DMG said this is still being investigating and he'll follow up with the player support team on status. So if you are experiencing that issue, it's something that Bungie know about and are working on. We do have a couple of updates in October as well, where they could possibly get a few more fixes in that we don't know about just yet. They did confirm that in October, the scout rifle damage buff will actually be implemented, so that'll be on the 16th. And DMG says, with regards to the Phoenix Protocol bug, he believes the fix is being cooked up, but is not sure what the timeline is just yet. There's been a bit of conversation as well about the Whisper of the Worm not working sometimes with Well of Radiance. And essentially the White Nail perk bugs out and you end up having to reload the weapon. DMG says it's a known issue and it should be addressed this month as well. We'll look into dates and stay tuned for patch notes. So it's definitely positive that that one is hopefully going to be fixed. For now though guys, that is going to summarize today's video, so I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, a like below is very much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see a lot more Destiny 2 content. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the stuff we've spoken about, but for now, I appreciate you tuning in as always, and whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.